let's review the books I read during the month of June. I finished 6 books. There are 2 I gave up on because I'm still learning to do that. And I have 2 that I'm currently in the middle of. So let's get to it. I'm just going to go in order to not forget anything. First one, I am continuing to read fantasy series. I don't know why. For 2 years I was kind of giving up on them, but the Oleander Sword, second book in the Burning Kingdoms series. And I feel like I'm reading this series for the characters more than the actual plot. I feel like book 1, there was a ton of build-up, and that ending really opened up the door for a huge war happening. You have different kingdoms. It's kind of Indian inspired. You have this evil emperor that burns women alive, and he wants to do that to his sister. She says no. She kind of has to say yes for it to actually work for the magic. So he sends her away, and a lot builds up in book 1. So you have the actual war starting in book 2. There's a little bit of sapphic romance. Like I said, I feel like it's not the plot that keeps me going. It's the characters, specifically female characters. There are 3 main ones that are strong, sure, morally complex, maybe a bit gray, but also just super ambitious. And I just need to know how it's going to end, because they're not all on the same side. And like, you want all of them to, you know, survive and do well. And things are going intense. Obviously, second book, right? Things are going to be intense. So yes, I am enjoying this. Look at me reading, you know, 500 pages fantasy. I'm so happy I'm back to doing that. Okay, next. I was actually really disappointed. I couldn't finish this one. This is The Devil Mrs Davenport. I am someone that enjoys reading books where women, you're not sure if the woman is slowly losing it, or if there's something happening, you know, paranormal, is it ghosts, whatever it is. What is it? Is it demons? But I go into these books knowing full well that there's a chance I will get annoyed. And it was the case in this one. So this woman, very 1950s, yes. She's married, her husband is abusive, and of course nobody else, you know, sees it. And she's slowly losing it. So you're like, okay, is she actually, you know, hearing the devil, or does she just wants to have rights? And unfortunately, I couldn't make it super far into it. I gave up. I mean, I made a decent amount, 117 pages, because there's a grape scene. I hate using that word, but you know what I mean. Her husband, you know, essays her, and I just couldn't do it. And like, until then, I was really struggling with the character, which, you know, you're meant to be in her head, and it's really annoying for me to be in that head. Because she's like really submissive, she's really trying, and he's being such an a-hole. But it makes sense. It's, you know, it's on purpose. I understand it's on purpose and everything. But when that scene's arrived, I was already so over it that I just decided, you know what, I don't want to read that. I'm trying to read for my enjoyment. And unless there's going to be something super satisfying and like I can see it, I can't do it anymore. So unfortunately, it didn't work for me, but I did read something else, okay? I was dead set on reading about women losing it. For some reason, it's becoming something I really enjoy reading about. So I've read only a couple. And like, there was one that was made into a movie recently. I'll put it on the screen. Oh, it's Night B Word. Again, YouTube. But this one, the ending was so unsatisfying. So I'm still, you know, I feel like Gillian Flynn does it really well, but whatever. Next, I did my Read It or Haul It, and I read this book, which is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is exactly why I want to do my Read It or Haul It challenge, trying to get to the books that were forgotten on my shelves for years. I always intended on reading this book. Like, why? Always wanted to read it, but just never picked it up. I kept forgetting about it. And, you know, chunky, but super readable. It was really interesting to be in Snow's head. And I found myself sometimes empathizing with him, which he would never do for anybody else. But yes, I appreciated the differences between the movie, which they weren't super like obvious. There wasn't any like huge differences, except that I feel like it made it even more obvious that he didn't love Lucy. He wanted to own her. Like, he thought he did. So yeah, I enjoyed it. 4-star, would recommend. I didn't actually give a rating to this one. Honestly, I'm leaning towards a 3 just because I'm realizing it's not the plot. It's just the characters I'm enjoying. I'm currently, spoiler alert, reading the 3rd one, so I think it's going to determine how I feel about the rest of the series. I feel like I'm doing that more and more. Anybody else? I feel like it's almost that I'm reading the whole series, not book per book. Either way, the second book I picked from the giant jar was this one, The Final Girl Support Group, which I have enjoyed so many books by Grady Enrix. He does these kind of horror, you're always following female characters, which I feel like can be hit and miss with the horror genre. But so far I had enjoyed all of his female characters and books, not this one. I could not do it. I put it down at chapter 10, which is 127. Because the female character is very annoying, but again, she is meant to be to a certain extent because she's a final girl. She survived mass murder and she is struggling still years later, and she kind of lost it, but all the other girls too, they're struggling. It makes sense. But unfortunately, I was getting more and more annoyed with her, yes, but I felt like he kept including little lines that the best way I can explain is that I feel like a female author could not get away with it. And like, I feel like his other books, his female characters did ring true. It does seem to have kind of a feminist take on these topics, which again can be really iffy from male authors. I feel like it can be hit and miss, but in this one it just does not ring true. Let me give you one example. It's the accumulation of these things too. It's not just one quote. So like they're trying to explain something to this man and he lets out a frustrated sigh, probably wishing we were men because then he could communicate with us like adults. And like, haha, funny, okay, I get it. But it just keeps happening and you're like, I feel like the character is not that I would know how she would react in that situation, but it just becomes too much. And it's one of the only times that I actually got so annoyed that I checked the ending. Usually I just give up on a book and I don't even look, and it confirmed where I thought I was going. I just wasn't a fan. And I recently mentioned that in the vlog. Actually, I posted it and someone commented that actually he started writing this before his other books, because I thought this had been written before the other books because again, it felt like the writing was not as strong. And yeah, apparently he started writing this years and years ago. So I feel like it makes sense. So if that's the only book you've read by him and didn't like it, I would check out his other books. I feel like his most recent one is probably his best one. And yeah, it just really, I felt it. I'm so glad someone confirmed it. So yeah, didn't finish it. No. I am still reading nonfiction. I read about 5 pages a day. That's been the goal lately. It's been working for me. And I just finished When God Was a Woman, which is the exploration of these religions that were prior to the patriarchal ones. So the Greek goddess. And I feel like I have heard nothing in my life growing up about it until recently. And I think it's really interesting because you'll hear like, oh, they found these like sculptures of like reproduction, you know, goddess, and like they're using it very vague when it used to be actually a religion, but we don't have anything because violence of the patriarchal religion. Anyway, I thought it was a fascinating topic to explore. It's incredibly frustrating, obviously, but seeing the contrast of whenever these two things started happening at the same time or existing at the same time, and seeing how a lot of violence had to be used for it to actually go instinct. I'm explaining this very badly, but anyway, I enjoyed it. But it makes you side-eye a lot of things. I feel like, again, anthropology would say like these temple prostitutes when the actual translation is priestess. And it's like, wow, we've been really brainwashed. It's crazy. Anyway, interesting topic. I would explore more. Actually, I have a couple more on my shelves. But yeah, if you were looking at it, I think it's really interesting. It's a little heavy, some chapters in the historical portion, but interesting anyway. Okay, so I was saying how I was not done with reading about female characters where you don't know, is she going nuts or is it, you know, society, pressure, shitty husband? I picked up this one recently. This is Come Closer, and that's exactly what it is. You don't know if this woman is losing it, if she's being possessed, or, again, shitty husband. And you play that line, you know, throughout the book. Little tangent first. I am not someone that expects all of my books to have crazy writing, you know, lyrical, the prose is so beautiful. I read for my enjoyment. I'll read from anything pretty much, but sometimes you can't help but see the contrast. And like, not that the writing was poor, but this one and like the next one, they're popcorn reads, you know? And if I compare, recently I read another one by Elif Shafak, and like her writing, you know, you can definitely tell the difference. So that made me laugh when I was reading it, because you can read this in a day. Okay, it's like 60 pages, super quick. It was what I needed it to be. I feel like I can't tell you anything else about the plot without reading it, but yes, slowly becoming crazy. Is she being possessed? It did what it needed to do. I was okay with the ending too, which again, with these books can be really hit and miss. And I think I'm going to round it up to a 4. If you go into it with low expectations, this was fun. So the other one that I was saying popcorn read, definitely this one. This is Still House Lake. This was a popular book. I get really overwhelmed when I use Bookshop in the section of like mystery, thriller, horror. I feel like I don't really agree with the popular ratings, but I struggled to find other things to pick up. So I saw it had good rating. I decided, you know what? It's summer. We're going to go to the beach. I want beach reads, fun books, and I picked it up. And I have mixed feelings about it. The plot is interesting. You have this woman, she had, you know, the perfect life in theory. She was married, 2 kids. And then one day, someone that is drunk has an accident and hits the garage, and it's revealed that her husband was actually a serial killer. So cool. Everyone, police and the public, thinks she's in on it. So she almost goes to prison. Things are crazy. And then now that she's out, she is in hiding with her kids because everyone is still thinking that she did it too. So you're following her trying to survive, and the plot was interesting. I understand her character. She, you know, sees her past self as being very, very naive, and she's doing everything she can to keep her kids safe, herself too. So all of that, very valid. My issue is that I didn't like the character, and I don't need to love the character to read the book. I mean, reading Crazy Woman, I'm perfectly fine with it. But my issue was her as, like, if she was a person, I wouldn't like her. Again, the demonic wife probably wouldn't either. But what I mean is that she is so male-centered. At one point, she doesn't trust men, which again, she was married for years and her husband turned out to be an awful person. Fine. The police also were awful to her. And again, most of the people that are sending her threats are men online, blah, blah, blah. Fine. Completely valid. However, she still surrounds herself pretty much exclusively with men, which really annoyed me. At one point, she's saying she has to leave her kids alone for a few minutes or a few hours, whatever. And she's like, oh, I wish I had a woman I could trust, you know? But you're gonna trust a man? Like, you're not making sense. Like, why are you making friends with random men but not the women? Like, if you think they're more trustworthy. It is such a tiny portion of the book, but for some reason, I just could not stop thinking about it. And I always see this as a sign that I might not be as invested into the story as I thought I was when I just focus on something random. But maybe it's not that random. Anyway, I couldn't stop thinking about things like that throughout the story, so I'm not going to continue because it is a series, but for one book, it was interesting. I feel like I made it sound like it was awful. I'm giving it a 3-star. It was entertaining. It was a popcorn read. It was a quick read. You know, the whole like, oh, people are coming after her. Who can she trust? Who can she not trust? Like, the men around her, because it's pretty much just men. So yeah, the plot was interesting. It definitely kept me up trying to, you know, finish it so I could figure out who is doing it, because obviously, you know, they were found out because it's like, I don't know, 7 or 8 different names at this point, and they're still found out. So what's going on? Anyway, that's my review. If you've read this book, because I know a lot of you had mixed feelings also about this book, people, either you loved it or hated it. I'm really curious to hear your take on it because I couldn't stop thinking about that. It is what it is. So yeah, read that one. And the last one I finish, also beautiful writing, actually. Great example. This is Wild Dark Shore. This is a book that you read for the vibes, and I think the author in general is just that. I did read Migrations by her, and I had a very similar feeling. She tends to write about the cold, which I read this during the heat wave. It was so weird. And just vibes and like mysterious husbands that seem to be, they have very similar things in them. But in this one, you have this woman who drifts ashore to this tiny little island where her husband was working. He's not there to be found. What happened to him? And then there's a family that lives there, this man with his 3 kids. And she doesn't know if she can trust them. Can they trust her? And just vibes. 100% vibes. I love the writing. My opinion on the book went so up and down. It started pretty good, and then I was kind of annoyed towards the end. It's fine, it's fine. I think it's because the main character is child-free and I'm child-free, and I feel like in general when there's a mystery, they're always the awful person. Like, I feel like it's always the storyline and it gets old very quickly. It's not the vibes that I got throughout the story. There's definitely someone that is sabotaging things on the island, so you don't know what's going on. But yes, I think I'm gonna give it 3 because I read this for like almost 2 weeks because, again, heat waves, it was cold, it was so weird. But in general, I think it's just something, if you're someone that reads books because you like prose, there you go. Which, for me, it's fine. Actually, I didn't fully love the ending, but probably not for the reasons that you think. I can spoil you in the comment section as always, but I'm trying to keep these reviews spoiler free. But yeah, it was fine. It was fine. And I'm currently reading book 3, like I was saying, so the Lotus Empire, and I, at this point, am reading this because I care about the characters, okay? And I want to know, not just the characters, I really like the magic system. So you have, again, the emperor that has this magical fire because he burns these women alive because he's an... And then you have the other side that has these gods that are linked to plants. I'm keeping it vague, but I'm really invested in finding out because no side seems to be innocent and a lot is happening and I care about these characters, okay? These 3 women specifically, I need them to be okay. I need them to be okay. They're not okay. So I'm only like chapter 12. So I still have a good chunk to go, also 500 pages, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. And again, I'm just happy to be back to reading fantasy. And my new nonfiction is this one. This one is They Were Her Property. This is about the role of white women as slave owners in the American South. I realized I knew nothing about the topic. I feel like it's not what I had heard. I'm Canadian though, so I feel like we learned basically nothing about slavery. So I'm currently reading, again, 5 pages a day-ish. I'm at page 85 and so far so good. It's only 200 pages. It's like the notes. So there's only this much left and so far I'm enjoying it. Feels weird to use that word, but so far it's enlightening. It's interesting. But I'm actually gonna have to pause both of these because I'm about to start filming my Read It Unhaul It for July because I want to continue. I really want to get those books. I'm feeling the need. I'm about to film my next unhaul video, my yearly unhaul video. So I feel like I'm in the mood to just go through books and if I don't like them. And not one audiobook because for some reason I'm still not in the mood. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe. I'll put more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I will see you again in July. I have so many videos coming, so I'll see you then. Bye.